Okay, y'all, so let's jump right into it. So, the first thing we'll be doing is pinning down our closure using our T-pins. You want to make sure that the front of your closure is about a half inch or so in front of the cap because you don't want the wig cap to be visible in the front part. When pinning your closure down, make sure that you're tugging with the T-pins to lay it completely flat. As you can see right there, I pulled it back with the T-pin, and I'm going to make sure that it's completely flat on all four sides. And this is what it should look like, completely flat all around. So now I'm just going to braid up the hair out of the way. Now you can use duck clips or anything that you have to do that, but I was being lazy, so I just decided to braid it down.
Shopping for expensive things. I be on the movie screens, magazines and bougie scenes. I'm not clean, I'm not pristine. I'm no queen, I'm no machine. I still go to Taco Bell, drive through, raw as hell. I don't care.
Alright, so now we're going to get into drawing our wig guidelines, and I start in the middle of the wig cap, going about an inch apart for each. Now I just go straight into there, but you can use your measuring tape so it's easier for you. So I take my lines all the way to the top. When I get to the closure, that's where I'll make my last line, and then I'll work my way onto the sides of the wig cap and using the lines that I made in the middle as a guide.
I got problems up to here. I got people in my ear telling me these crazy things that I don't want to know. I got money in the bank.
Okay, so now we're just going to continue tracing those guidelines onto the side. That's all we're doing here. Now, somewhere at the top I did mess up because I kept bringing them around, but instead I should have just kept those lines straight. So as you can see, they're curving here, and right here should have been my last line going straight, but instead I brought that line going straight too, but I shouldn't have. I should have kept it the way it was. It wasn't needed because it would have been covered up at the top. I fixed this once I was on the sewing machine because I knew I messed up the guidelines, but yeah. So let's hop into sewing down this closure. So first, my first stitch, I spread the thread apart and pull through, and then I do another stitch in the same area and then continue stitching normally. Now I skipped ahead a little bit, but you can see what I mean. And I used the same thread throughout the entire closure sewing down process. Some people split it up because it's easier for them, but I don't. But as you can see here, I'm just going along the closure or whatever. Simple threading stitch, however you're comfortable doing it. It doesn't really matter as long as your stitches are close together to prevent bulking at the end of this process.
Like it's 07, I just hit a lick, gotta hit the next one. Last year, I know you learned your lesson. I could GPS you if you need a dressing. Just saw about a bigger homie, but I'm 1 year older than my little homie. 09, they was bidding on me, but I'm young, money got it written on me. Okay, now we got some action. Everything I said it happened. That boy light is Michael Jackson. But on verses, he been blacking. Chasing women, a distraction. They will be on TV right next to me. You cannot be here right next to me. Don't you see Riri right next to me? Especially, they feel the same but they hide it. They just discuss it in private. They get along, man, we tried it. What's the point in even trying? I hear the goofy especially. They always dying to mention me. They gotta die out eventually. I cannot give you the recipe. You know the game is so separately. Swear I just had an epiphany. It cost me 50 at Tiffany's. Shout out to Tiffany Stephanie. You used to always come check for me. My enemies wanna be friends with my other enemies. I don't let it get to me. Look what I done in my life. I had to
Okay, so I stitch the closure to the edge of the cap, but just to be sure that I don't leave like a big knot at the front, I also stitch once or twice going backwards again, just to make sure that there's not a lump at the front of the thing. And then I take the needle and then the thread and I wrap it around 3 or 4 times and pull to make like a nice knot. And just for extra security, I cut it and do 2 or 3 knots like this, and then clip off the rest of the excess thread. So now I know this isn't exactly the best angle for this, but if you would like to skip and get a better angle, you can. But currently I'm just gonna try to explain to the best of my ability what I was doing. So the first thing I did was line up my weft to the lines, the guidelines that we created, and then I started stitching. But the key thing is when you begin stitching, you want to stitch back and forth. So well, I'm clearly just stitching right now, so but once I get to the other end, you'll see what I mean, that you'll go back and forth. So you're gonna press this button here. Hold on, it's coming up, right there. So see, it moves it backwards and forwards. That's so you can lock in your stitch and everything. That's how it came out. But you do that at the beginning, as you can see here, back and forth to lock it in, and then you stitch normally, and then once you get to the end, you do the same thing again, just to make sure that everything is secure and not going nowhere.
Kick that thing like a pro, man. She backed it up on me, I'm like, oh man. I got close enough to her so I know she could hear. System thumping, party jumping, I said loud and clear. All a nigga really need is a little bit. Not a lot, baby girl, just a little bit. We can head to the crib in a little bit. I can show you how I live in a little bit. I wanna unbutton your pants just a little bit. Take them off, pull them down just a little bit. Get the kissing and touching.
Okay, so here's a bit more clear angle of what I was doing. As you can see, I'm stitching back and forth, pressing that button, and I'm aligning my weft with the guideline and stitching slowly. Now when it looks like I'm going kind of fast, but I'm not. I'm taking my time, making sure I can clearly see everything that I'm doing, and I'm readjusting if I need to. So this is what you want to do. This is not a speedy process. Take your time, because the more you try and rush, the bulkier it gets. Just take your time. Don't rush through it. There's no need to push the weft through or the cap through. The machine will do all the work for you. Otherwise, you'll cause bulking.
Don't involve money, I'm off it. I can be your role model. Jimi Hendrix. Before we end it, go swim so GT3. No more war shows, no MTV. So you won't double that, I can tell you. That's where you won't go after you come with me. I done set it off before I turned 23. I could teach you how to ball if you just let a nigga be. We be so high, that's why we so low key. She want to fly with you, let's make 3. I'll be your role model. Don't need us tomorrow. Gotta be the whole night. Tell me what you want. You say you gotta come, cause my time ain't enough. But it's never enough for you. But you can wait until I come on. Flawless, flawless, baby, what you call this? If this shit don't involve money, I'm off it. I can be your role model. Jimi Hendrix. Before we end it, us against the globe. Don't let your attitude we got. Never stress it if you just lay low. I give you lessons, there's so much to know. Go full speed when I say go. Don't push me when I say no. You don't look cheap, cause it costs O's. You can't book me, that's the different show. I'll be your role model. Don't need us tomorrow. Tell me what you want. You say you got time, cause my time ain't enough. But it's never enough for you. But you can wait until I come. Flawless, flawless, baby, what you call this? If the shit don't involve money, I'm off it. I can be your role model. Jimi Hendrix. Before we end it.
Okay, so now we're done making the wig, and we're just gonna cut out that extra cap that's underneath the lace itself, because you need to expose the lace so it could lay like scalp, honey. So I'm taking my time doing this because you want to be careful not to cut any of the thread that you have sewn together, because your wig will unravel, and that is the last thing we want to do. So I'm taking my time trying to make sure I don't cut any of that thread. As you can see, I'm just trying to show you a better angle. I'm cutting close to it, but not exactly on it. We're not trying to mess that up. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy.